Julia, do you want to come back?
Well, no, I would absolutely agree with him. I mean, I think both sets of people are utterly abhorrent. But the thing is the EDL has been born out of frustration. The frustration that we can't vocalise how we feel. You know, why weren't the Muslim extreme or the extremists that were burning poppies? Why weren't they arrested?
Well, right. Can I come back?
Well, please, Khaled. Yeah, Khaled.
I would arrest both lots and chuck them both.
Or there's the other view, to arrest nobody because it's a free country. But Khaled, go on.
Yeah. Look. You know, I where Julia's coming from, and I actually agree with her that, you know, there is extremism on both sides, and that, you know, but that's not for people like us to tell the police who to arrest and who not to. They have a job to do, and they've got to do it. But do we vocalize our dissent against the people that burn the poppies? Yes, we do. Does it get heard? No, it doesn't. So so the perception for the general public is that, hang on, there are these idiots who are burning poppies on such an important day, and there's nobody saying anything. Whereas actually, we do say, but we don't get heard.
But there are people. What about the original contention that I put to you? There are people in positions of power in Muslim communities who are also saying nutty things, and that's a PR problem which people like you are trying to address. But it is a problem, isn't it?
It is a problem, Nicky. But I would suggest that there are MPs who say nutty things as well.
But if an MP said that 7/7 was a government plot, he would be drummed out of the regiment. He would be a laughingstock.
Well, you know, he may be a laughingstock, and these people within the Muslim community are a laughingstock.
But that needs to be...
No, I think you're overblowing Dr. Nassim, Nicky, as an example. I think for his one example, there are hundreds of other people who are perfectly coherent, who are perfectly articulate, and they vocalise, you know, the viewpoint of the community. Not that it's a homogenous community.
Communities.
Communities,
yes.
Absolutely.
Paul in Greater... Stay there, Paul in Greater London. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Nicky.
Thanks for getting in touch with us.
Pleasure.
It's all yours.
What I want to say is, why is someone like Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, a former BNP thug with a conviction for assault on a police officer, given credibility when his organisation is riddled with thugs, riddled with Nazis, riddled with people who in Portsmouth last week at a mosque chanted things like, there ain't no black in Union Jack. These people aren't anti-Muslim extremists, they're anti-Muslim, and they're whipping up Islamophobia.
Well, I think many people thought that became clear from the interview earlier on.
Well, I hope that's the case. I hope that people like Yaxley Lennon, to use his real name, who's a posh little boy from Berkshire and is no friend of working people, should be given short shrift in the media. I think there's a real problem because they're whipping up Islamophobia. And I tell you, I've been on some of the counter demonstrations that people like Unite Against Fascism have organised. And to be frank, if Muslim people done half of what EDL people done, they'd be thrown in jail and there'd be a media witch hunt on them.
But what about the anger expressed by Julia that they, you know, burning poppies and say British soldiers should burn in hell from Mujahideen, the extremist group led by Mr. Chowdhury, who we've spoken to on this programme. What about people being angry about that? Nothing seems to be done about those people doing that.
Well, for sure, but frankly, they're a tiny virtual irrelevance. And I tell you...
Aren't the EDL the same?
No, unfortunately, the EDL, I don't think they're half as big as what they claim to be. Right. But the EDL at the centre of... I'll tell you, I mean, you probably know this, the EDL put out various of their members have been jailed for putting out death threats. They threatened councillors in Birmingham, like Salma Yaqub, with death threats. They threatened leading anti-fascists with death threats. And Yaxley Lennon, who is, as I say, who is no friend of working people, though he purports to be, is somebody who's at the centre of fomenting week in, week out on the demonstrations anti-Muslim hatred. They chant things like Allah is a pedo. Forgive me for that, but that's what they chant. And all this stuff about, we're just against Muslim extremism.
I don't think they say Allah is a pedo. I think they say, I don't want to say it, but Muhammad, because in those days, of course, marriage, I think one of his wives was 9, but there was a sort of different social order in those days.
Sure.
So that's what they chant. Allah being God, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I tell you, when he says things like, I've got a problem with the Quran, well, let's turn it around.
What causes extremism? What causes Islamic extremism?
Well, to be honest, I think when you've got people like George Bush and Tony Blair and now David Cameron bombing the hell out of countries which they shouldn't be in, like Afghanistan,
but 9/11
it causes a backlash.
So it's all a backlash. It's nothing to do. It's not driven by a jihadist philosophy about a caliphate. It's nothing to do. It's purely a backlash.
Yeah, but Nicky, the CIA themselves said 9/11 was blowback. Some of the people involved in 9/11, horrifically as it was, of course, had been trained by the CIA.
Interesting.
And what the EDL are doing is scapegoating. It's the classic thing, isn't it? In the 30s it was Jews, later on it was Irish people and Afro-Caribbeans. Now, Muslims are the new Jews, I think, and we ought to stand against the EDL and reveal them for the racist thugs they are.
Do you agree with aforementioned Mohammed Nassim from Birmingham Central Mosque, who said that he sees similarities between Tony Blair's approach to Britain's Muslim community and Adolf Hitler's demonisation of Jews?
I would put it differently. I think Tony Blair...
You said they're the new Jews.
Who's the new Jews, sorry?
You said they're the new Jews.
I think now, in a way, they're being scapegoated. So a tiny bunch of people who are virtually irrelevant and pointless, but as a previous caller said, shout a lot, get all the coverage.
Well, and bomb people, and kill people, and murder people, and maim people. 7/7, 9/11, countless terrorist plots. Is that just a...
I thought you was talking about Al-Mujaroon. I think the real problem here is when you get even the police, and the police in the West Midlands have had a lot of dealings with the EDL, and I've seen the EDL people. And why isn't Robinson asked about why their members put pigs' heads on Hindu temples? Why their members in their forums on Facebook constantly go on in the most disgusting racist language and talk about attacking Muslims and how joyful it is, and why their demonstrations constantly attract neo-Nazis and racists, and quite a lot now of BNP members who are fed up with the BNP and want some action on the streets. They're a much bigger problem than a few Muslim people.
OK, we're going to break... Sorry, I can see someone else. Here's someone else going... Can I come back to you, Khalid?
Yeah.
You got a few minutes?
Yeah.
Right. It's 5 Live Breakfast. And it's a caller earlier. It was Paul there suggested Tommy Robinson's a posh boy. He's Luton born and bred, still lives there. I wouldn't, I don't... Boris Johnson... Tommy Robinson, not too many similarities, I would have said. It's 5 Live Breakfast, 9:20.